Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward with the next section. I'm going to kick off here with a little bit of a background on kind of how we view the market, what kinds of, um, let's say, data management requirements we're responding to when we kind of build out our roadmap. And then I'm going to do a very brief handover for the next section. I believe I'll be passing to Nick here to kind of dive into the next generation Oracle GoldenGate 23 AI. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my specific set of top five most favorite new features that we've launched recently with GoldenGate 23. So stick around for that. Pretty interesting and exciting set of new capabilities there. But let's actually start off just by talking a little bit about this global imperative for data management. Really, with the rise of generative AI in the past few years and really the shift towards multi-cloud that's going on, what we're seeing now is, even more attention being paid to how organizations and companies can make best use of data in order to drive new efficiencies, to drive innovation, to drive new profits. And so there's this rising push for data management around the world, and it's most evidenced by the massive amounts of revenue being generated in this category. When we look at high growth IT markets, information technology markets, database management systems are on the high growth trajectory. Data and analytics markets are on the high growth trajectory. And then I mentioned generative AI is driving a fundamental reset for many organizations and how they approach data management in order to make use of these, dramatic shifts in technology that are occurring around AI and machine learning. So there's just a huge amount of focus in this area, and pretty much all organizations, large, medium, small, are kind of spending time thinking about how they can adopt tools and technologies to make more efficient use of their data resources. But one of the interesting challenges that we hear about, certainly, in our organization, and analysts like Gartner have documented this trend, the the types of projects that have been rolled out, let's say in the last 5 years or so, around data and analytics and data platforms have, for the most part, delivered less than the ROI that was originally projected. And so when we think about all these billions of dollars being spent in new data management and new data platform initiatives, our leadership of all of our organizations have very high expectations about what kinds of new returns we can see on those investments. But by and large, 80% of those initiatives have sort of failed to deliver on the initial expectations. And that's something that is really driving what Gartner terms as a reset, if you will, a reset in terms of how those data platform requirements are being scoped out. And one of the big things that's changing is the adoption of multi-cloud deployment models. 2, 3 years ago, when we got together on these kinds of calls, we talked about multi-cloud as something that was happening largely by accident at the time. We see different business units and IT organizations. Some of those workloads would go to Amazon, some of those workloads would go to Google, some would go to Azure, some would go to Oracle, and it wasn't really something that was well planned or well thought out for many organizations. But what we're seeing now is a real shift to where the strategy is now taking into consideration the fact that workloads for data are actually spread out in a lot of different data centers. The on-prem data centers are not going away. There are workloads that may run in Amazon. There are workloads that may run in Microsoft. There are workloads that are running in Oracle Cloud. And so as a data management infrastructure, we need to be thinking about these distributed architectures from the beginning that can handle data management that is fundamentally deployed across multi-cloud. So it's now becoming more intentional, whereas I would say a few years ago, it's something that was happening more by accident. Um, So, and then, finally, what we're hearing, not just from Gartner, but also from Forrester and other leading analysts across the globe, is that when organizations are beginning to plan out their next generation data management and data integration and data governance architectures, they're really thinking more and more about these emerging data fabric architectures and the operating models that have been espoused by data mesh thinking, particularly around federated data governance. And so there's a whole fresh set of thinking, if you will, around these fabric and mesh architectures. And we're seeing is kind of a newer generation of data management platforms or converged data management platforms that are taking into account these fabric and mesh architecture. So a lot of really interesting and exciting things going on in the big picture. Now, Golden Gate and the way that we approach the Golden Gate roadmap is a great fit for a lot of these use cases. Golden Gate, as most of you know, it's a real-time platform. It's been around for over 20 years and trusted mission-critical use cases for high availability. It's fundamentally a decentralized or a distributed architecture that can run in multi-cloud environments. And then we've been historically the leader in supporting these real-time data fabric and data mesh use cases. So this is something that the Golden Gate infrastructure is something that can apply towards your data management strategy, your data integration, your data analytics, AI and ML use cases, as well as your data governance use cases. And it's a piece of technology that's used in a wide variety of industries globally, including financial services, retail, healthcare, communications, high tech, utilities, government, et cetera. So really good fit for a lot of these emerging trends that are happening around data management. And we can see further evidence for that in when we map together the Golden Gate capabilities with the top CIO priorities for 2024. And so this is a story that came out from the CIO Executive Council. I want to run you through a couple of the top priorities around the CIO and also chief data officers and how Golden Gate will fit into there. We're going to talk a little bit more about how Golden Gate can help you gain stronger control over your data resources in the enterprise, about how Golden Gate can help that balance between operational excellence on the ops side of the shop with also the innovation workloads that need to happen with new data resources, and how to monetize that data with new data products. We can also double down on cybersecurity with some of the mission critical capabilities for Golden Gate from a trusted standpoint in terms of moving data between data centers, as well as you're going to hear a lot more in today's workshop around the new AI use cases. In fact, we've rebranded Golden Gate with the AI suffix. So Golden Gate 23 AI has been on the forefront of innovations with supporting these generative AI patterns, vectors, and retrieval augmented generation and other data hub related items for artificial intelligence. So there's going to be, a very interesting set of discussions today around that. We also see Golden Gate being used pretty extensively to strengthen the data governance posture within large enterprises. We'll talk about how they do that. And then, broadly, being able to find value creation, not just in terms of reducing expense and optimizing costs around enterprise infrastructure using the Golden Gate technologies, but also in terms of generating new value around innovations and data products with the Golden Gate infrastructure. So for the next few slides, we're going to kind of go a little bit deeper into these as we kind of explain those those innovation priorities that we have. And again, just to be really clear with you, this is not an infomercial. Like what we're trying to break down are sort of the mapping that we have from our functional priorities, the features and projects we invest in, and how those map into our customer priorities. And so these are all a reflection of sort of how we take those projects and and map them into top level CIO priorities that are important and relevant, right now. So this first one about getting stronger control over the data. GoldenGate has historically been used to help unlock value from data that's been pent up in silos. And GoldenGate itself, as an integration technology, is used for real-time integration, real-time data movement between silos of data. Right. So any organization that's going through a technology transformation or a business transformation needs that strong foundation of being able to move data between resources. Now, 20 years ago, that would have been predominantly ETL tools, or really even 5 or 10 years ago, predominantly ETL tools. But what we see is now a modern infrastructure is aggressively shifting towards real-time and streaming workloads so that we can see real-time events, real-time data transactions throughout the enterprise, what Gartner historically has called the central nervous system to move data between different sources and targets. And so that's where GoldenGate really fits, is these initiatives that have high impact on customer value and driving innovation or improving operations, being able to continuously move data and also process data with the stream processing environment between these different environments. And that could be across clouds, could be across on-prem data centers, and obviously across your different mission critical systems and your data warehouses and your data lake houses. So we see GoldenGate as being a great choice to focus on those enterprise-wide real-time data fabric use cases and helping to get control over these very diverse data resources in your enterprise. We also see GoldenGate being an ideal tool to help with that balance between innovation and operational excellence. The point that the CIO discussion is having here is that a lot of times executive leadership have to prioritize projects differently as to whether they're focusing on innovations around monetizing data versus keeping the lights on the operational side of the shop. GoldenGate is one of those rare investments that can do both at the same time. GoldenGate is very broadly used for high availability use cases, literally keeping the lights on for your databases. And by the way, not just Oracle databases, but also your HP nonstop databases, your SQL Server, your DB2 infrastructure. So GoldenGate's used widely and broadly as a high availability solution, maximum availability also for low downtime migrations. So that same piece of technology can also be used to drive real-time transactions into your analytic data products. So as you're building out new data innovations with data products in your data lakehouses, in your cloud data warehouses, in your cloud data platforms, you can keep them continuously refreshed in real time using the same technology that's keeping the lights on. So it's one of these, technology areas that we see, as being able to work on both sides of these CIO priorities and literally helping to empower that balance that needs to happen between operational excellence and innovation with data. The third area here is, doubling down on cybersecurity. And often, if you've heard me speak before, I would like to remind people the origin story of the GoldenGate software. Back in the late 1990s, when GoldenGate was a technology startup in San Francisco, the very first use case that GoldenGate solved for was around ATM cash machine high availability and replication on ATM networks here in the United States. And ever since those very early use cases, security has been top priority for GoldenGate. It's been part of the core mission of this software. And so if you think about all those years, 25 plus years later, the GoldenGate infrastructure today still runs the backbone of a lot of these cash machine networks, payments platforms for money exchanges, stock market backbones, commodity and trading systems, as well as very, very important federal and governmental systems run by many or most of the large governments in the world. So this is a very definition of a mission critical system that you can trust. It's something that historically, if you look at Golden Gate Software, has always been on the um, on the investment side and putting investments into all of these core security updates, security frameworks, and maintaining a strong security posture across all the data that we move, whether that's in private networks or across clouds. So that's something that really core to the DNA of the Golden Gate solution. The fourth area here is as we get into top CIO priorities recently around artificial intelligence and machine learning, you're going to hear from Nick in a little bit some of the very interesting work that we rolled out earlier this year in May around being able to help you automate a retrieval augmented generation vector hub for providing similarity and semantic searches as part of your LLM and GPT infrastructure. So it's something that as organizations kind of look to bring online new generative AI solutions, but they want to reduce the amount of hallucinations that happen in those Gen AI solutions and also improve the timeliness of the data that's provided through these chat solutions or the Gen AI solutions, having access in real time to up to the moment business data is really key. And the way that that architecture is being deployed now pretty broadly is through what we call retrieval augmented generation. GoldenGate can help to automate the creation of vector embeddings. We can automate the insertion of real-time DML and DDL changes to the relational model. And we have a deep integration with the Oracle 23 AI vector store that will let you kind of create this really interesting vector hub concept to drive real-time, low hallucination Gen AI solutions. And so that's something that we've been on the cutting edge of kind of working on these approaches, going back to last year, for example. The next set of CIO priorities that we see as being very important are around strengthening data governance from an enterprise perspective. And so, I don't want to oversell the value of technology here. I think one thing that kind of everybody that has struggled with enterprise data governance over the years knows all too well is that good governance practices actually have to start with people and process enablement. And so those people and process enhancements or enablements are really the core foundation. And the best technology in the world, can't solve or can't be a replacement for the hard work, the difficult work that needs to go into the people and process governance areas. But once you get past that and you get into what the IT systems can deliver, where tools like GoldenGate can really play in is around the ability to deliver trusted data across different application and data platform domains. So again, technology, it's not a silver bullet, but having strong governance in your data platform absolutely does matter. And so GoldenGate, both for the transactional guarantees and the exact once delivery policies that GoldenGate deliver from a replication standpoint are of key value. But the second aspect is around the validation capabilities that GoldenGate can provide around what we call compare and repair functionality to make sure that data that is replicated between applications, databases, data centers, or clouds is known to be trusted, but also the conflict resolution capabilities that we have built in to GoldenGate to take care of those we call multi-active or those bidirectional use cases where conflicts can happen when you're doing workloads that are spread across different databases, for example. So all of this kind of goes back to that earlier point that I was making is it's in our core DNA, it's in the software's core DNA to be able to solve these, mission critical use cases with high security and high trust. And that's very much part of the governance posture that the GoldenGate brings into the equation. And then finally, the last priority that the CIO folks mentioned here as being very important is around value creation and cost optimization. And so the stat that I mentioned previously from Gartner was that, over the last few years, most data and analytics projects have had either very low ROI, they've underperformed in terms of ROI expectations. Um, and these organizations that have been trying to deploy solutions have built out a lot of technical debt. The technical debt around having redundant IT toolkits, redundant data integration capabilities, redundancy on the replication and governance side of things. And so what we can provide in terms of the GoldenGate infrastructure is the ability to begin to bring together, consolidate those redundancies, to focus on innovations and value creation rather than on maintaining redundant tools and duplicative solutions across these IT environments. And so there's an opportunity there to consolidate. For many of you, you may not be involved in the purchasing process with GoldenGate, but I want to make sure that you all are aware that GoldenGate can be procured via subscriptions. It can be procured via cloud credits. There's also a GoldenGate free option that you'll hear about. And then, many of you historically might have perpetual licenses to GoldenGate, but there's a lot of different ways to get access to GoldenGate, including free access. There's also free trials. For example, there's GoldenGate free, which is perpetually free as well for smaller workloads. So there's a lot of different cost-effective ways to get access to GoldenGate that can be important as well. And that what that does is that brings up a lot of opportunities for IT-led ROI on these real-time innovations. And so that's something that, if you're looking to achieve a higher return on investment, you can do that process of consolidating, but you can also take advantage of some of these newer commercial models for GoldenGate, generating higher ROI on the GoldenGate platform. So it really, coming back to the point that we made a couple minutes ago, the same investment here can be used to drive both the operational excellence of your production ops environments, but also improving the timeliness of the innovations happening on your data platform. Real-time data products, real-time analytics, innovation in your data science and AI environments. And so it's a great opportunity to kind of rethink how you approach modernization, as well as optimizing and stabilizing those environments. So again, that's a quick summary through kind of walking you through these different CIO priorities. When we think about the roadmap for GoldenGate and we think about which projects we want to invest in, we're very much trying to align our GoldenGate projects into areas that are going to generate value for you, both in terms of those innovations and all the work happening on your data platform for analytics and data science and AI. But we're also looking to invest in projects that make GoldenGate more cost effective to run and easier to support the operational excellence that we know that many of you depend on for your high availability, your migrations, and your OLTP replications. So those are all part of the factors that we greenlight or that we consider when we greenlight new projects for GoldenGate. So just to wrap it up, really, to summarize our mission, we're really trying to help you achieve operational excellence as well as innovate with data across those distributed multi-cloud solutions, so that hopefully you see our roadmap priorities kind of mapping into areas that will make your lives easier and optimize your deployments of GoldenGate. So our vision, the way we see that coming together from a technical vision, is GoldenGate can really provide that unified real-time platform for data fabrics. And we want to be able to make that data fabric platform something that you can run everywhere, whether it's in your on-prem environments, your Oracle Cloud environments, your AWS environments. We already have announced our plans for GoldenGate multi-cloud at Azure, GoldenGate multi-cloud at Google. So, that's something that we want to be able to take globally wherever your most important data lives. So we already are the number one real-time data fabric platform. That's something that's been validated by a number of the analysts across the community. We got a huge support for a wide variety of source systems, including now vector data stores, applications, Oracle, as well as third-party databases, messaging and event systems that we can capture from, as well as NoSQL environments we can capture from the Mongos and the Cassandras of the world. So we've got a huge support for being able to capture real-time change events from all these different source systems. And then for your data platforms, we can bring that data into your analytics environments, whether it's the Databricks environments, the Snowflake environments, your workloads that might run on Azure, your workloads that might run on Google or AWS. GoldenGate can be that standard data fabric platform that covers both the operational as well as the innovation workloads. So yeah, let's start to talk about what's new here, right? This event today, we're catching everybody up here on GoldenGate 23 AI. By the way, there were only two products at Oracle that have launched with the AI suffix back in May. Oracle Database 23 AI and also Oracle GoldenGate 23 AI. And we kind of base this functionality, the AI functionality, around these four core capabilities. We've added the ability to capture and distribute vector data in real time from a variety of Oracle and non-Oracle vector stores. We can help you automate the creation of a continuously updated generative AI data hub for RAG use cases, or retrieval augmented generation use cases. We've also embedded vector search in, as well as machine learning based scoring models into our real-time stream analytics environment for GoldenGate. So these are kind of like these three new foundation categories for us. And then if you think about GoldenGate overall as a data platform, what we see our customers doing is leveraging the real-time data fabrics as a new type of data management platform that can help drive higher quality model development for your generative AI models. So essentially using trusted real-time data delivery to support high quality generative AI model development. And that's something that we see as being pretty important for our GoldenGate community going forward. So these are some of the core functionalities that we're announcing. Nick's going to get into a lot more details. I wanted to be able to share my top 5 cool new capabilities of it. I think in terms of projects, we had like almost 110 new projects that we've identified as kind of project areas for this release. Nick's going to walk you through most of these, but let me kind of run you through my top 5 before I hand over to you, Nick. Number one for me is actually multi-cloud. I know that a lot of people say, "Hey Jeff, why didn't you say generative AI is your top cool one?" But actually multi-cloud I think is going to be as interesting or maybe more interesting for a wider set of customers. We've already announced these really interesting top level partnerships with Azure and Google. We've said that we're going to bring GoldenGate to those environments and make them natively available in Azure and Google. This is just going to be a game changer for many of you that are looking for fully managed GoldenGate in these environments. We've already done a lot of the certification work, so we've certified GoldenGate with Exadata at Azure. These are already deployed in a number of data centers globally, and we have customers using GoldenGate with these Exadata at Azure environments already today. So I think this is going to be a really interesting space to watch. Keep your eyes on this, and I think over the next few years, you're going to see a lot of really cool multi-cloud capabilities coming with these vendors that we've already announced, and probably some vendors that we haven't announced yet. So keep your eye on that space. But yeah, definitely the generative AI stuff is in my top 2 here. So you can't get away these days without in IT without talking about generative AI for something. But our focus here to bring real-time solutions to these generative AI RAG hubs is pretty interesting, right? It's a really proven, concrete way to reduce the level of hallucinations in your large language models. And it's something that for businesses that are looking to maintain the privacy and security of their enterprise data without pushing that back and forth to public LLMs, you can get started today in a secure, private way to do generative AI on your actual business data while maintaining security and privacy, right? So these kinds of architectures are really interesting to empower a lot of new use cases that are secure, private, and real time with generative AI. So a lot of practical, hands-on, pragmatic stuff going on in this area. My third area, which again would probably be number one if this was in any other release, but we have these other two big ticket items ahead of this. But data streams is a fundamental like change in GoldenGate. For 25 years, GoldenGate has operated on a real-time push architecture, so we're always pushing the data into some platform. But what we've done with data streams is we've now brought a publish and subscribe interface to GoldenGate. So now external third-party clients can subscribe to data channels directly in GoldenGate, or these data streams directly into GoldenGate. And so now with just a few mouse clicks, actually very cool demo here, with just a few mouse clicks, you can take any set of GoldenGate trail files, and you can now publish these as a REST compatible subscription interface using async API on our microservices. And any third-party client consumer that can talk to a REST API can now begin to consume JSON formatted change streams directly from GoldenGate. So you can now do pub sub for the first time in 25 years. You can now do pub sub with GoldenGate. As far as I know, this is actually the first replication tool in the history of replication tools that can do pub sub directly on a replication tool. Like before, you always needed to have something like Apache Kafka, or you needed to have MQ series or RabbitMQ, something like that. Now you can do it directly on GoldenGate, no additional messaging systems required. So really cool stuff. My fourth interesting one, and again, on any other release, this would be number one. But we're introducing an entirely new way of doing high availability with GoldenGate. So we've announced new feature capability called high availability clusters. We have built in a Raft consensus algorithm that means you can now set up clusters of GoldenGate that can work together without requiring any rack environments, no need for DBFS, no need for ACFS. You don't need grid infrastructure from GoldenGate. It's a built-in consensus architecture using the Raft algorithm for high availability across n number, well, it's a minimum of three or more GoldenGate installations. So really, really game-changing capability for those of you that are running GoldenGate in a high availability mode. This is something that down the line, probably next year, we'll be certifying with the max availability architecture, platinum tier for Oracle databases. So really, really cool stuff there. And then finally, before I end, the last thing I want to mention, I just can't overlook this. There's been major updates to how we interoperate with Snowflake, Databricks, BigQuery, and Mongo. So we've now rolled out a whole new set of streaming interfaces, Delta support, BigQuery stage merge, the capture APIs from Mongo. So if any of you out there are using GoldenGate with Snowflake, Databricks, BigQuery, or Mongo, stay tuned to the rest of this session, because you're going to hear about some really, really cool new integrations that have now started to roll out with Oracle GoldenGate 23 AI.